So, hello everyone out there. I'm Anushri. You can call me Anu from New Delhi, India. Namaste. A warm welcome to all of you on my show, The Inner Certitude by Anu. Certitude is an attitude of feeling certain about your own choices that you make in your life. This is um, actually the launching of my show. And this is a part one of my show where I have, invited Mr. Nolan Pillay. And he has kindly agreed to my invitation and joined here. So I welcome him, a warm welcome to Nolan to the show today. So hope
Thank you so much.
yes, I hope it's the time and all is fine for you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'm grateful to be the first one on your show.
Even me, I'm feeling so privileged to have you today here. As I have seen your posts, I have seen your video, your audio also I have heard. And for me, you are a person who is an amazing person, who is an enlightened warrior, who wants to make a real difference in this, the whole society where people like us, we usually get trapped into our emotional blockages, and we need to learn so many things from you. So, Nolan, would you like to introduce yourself, who Nolan is, your education, your work, if you'd like to share something about that?
Sure. That would be awesome. So my background is IT. I specialize in an IT package called SAP. And I did that for about 27 years of my life. And believe me, I still enjoy IT up till today. But along the way, it shifted, or my purpose shifted, and I'm now more focusing on humanity. So the way this transition happened is my company, Straight Talk with Nolan, was formed in 2015. But because I was traveling twice a month internationally, I was earning a good salary. I was so comfortable in that position. So there was no need for me to get out of it. My comfort zone just allowed me to stay there. But in June 2019, I went through something in the corporate world, and I termed this my beautiful destruction. Now, my beautiful destruction is all about being in the corporate world, but facing inhumane behavior. When I faced this inhumane behavior like racialism and kind of bullying tactics, etc., I realized, but wow, Nolan, do you need to stay here and put up with this? And the answer was no, right? So when I decided it was no, what I realized in the process was there was this guide that was coming from the universe basically saying to me that your purpose is not the corporate world anymore. Your purpose is bigger than this. The moment I started realizing that, I started exploring myself a bit more. And when I started exploring myself a bit more and asking these questions of myself, is this where you want to be for the rest of your life? Is this what you want to do? What difference? You should be comfortable. You're getting a salary every month. Why do you want to leave this nice job, etc.? And the more I asked the questions, the more the realization came that I should go out and do something different. And it was that very same year of 2019 in September that I officially launched my company, Straight Talk with Nolan. And when I launched the company, I had the deaf community come to my launch and speak at my launch. And when they spoke at my launch, I had interpreters there. So, as you know, it's very difficult for a normal hearing person to communicate with a deaf person if you do not know how to sign. So, long story short, I got them to speak at my launch. And one of the things that Mrs. Deaf South Africa left me with was basically, she said to me and my audience, she said, imagine if all of you here cannot hear, and she's the only one that can hear. Who's the one with the disability? And wow, that was lights on. That was lights on. It hit me deep, and I realized the challenges that the deaf face. So ever since then, I connected with them, and I made it my duty to make sure that I do something so that I can bridge this gap between the hearing and the deaf communities. So that's been my key focus. A lot that I do at the company is also focused on our youth. As we all know, our youth have so much of potential, but they're lacking the guidance and the support on how to move forward. The only way they can actually do this is by talking to people like myself, like you, getting coached, getting the experience, because we've been there, we know what it's all about, right? And with all the technologies and that we have today, unfortunately, it's not going to help them as much as a human can help them from a coaching point of view.
Absolutely.
So I focus a lot on youth.
I would like to just clarify a point here. When you talk to youth, the one who are like capable ones, but who don't have that kind of direction in life, which makes them utilize their potential in the optimum manner. How did you find it? It was it easy to interact with them in terms of making them realize that they can do something about their lifestyle, their thought process, so that they can contribute more?
That's a good question. So, if I look at the youth in Africa, for example, a lot of them, they want the help, they need the assistance. What I'm noticing, especially with the university students and the school students, they have this potential, but they want someone, they actually want you to come and hold their hands. The difference that I'm facing is, unfortunately, a lot of them don't have the funding to pay for coaches like myself. And this is where we expect the corporates to come into play and say, wow, you know what? These are brilliant initiatives to build the youth of this century. Why don't we become part of this and work together? But the potential, I can tell you now, the potential the youth have is unbelievable. One of my students, he suffers from epilepsy. Epilepsy is like a fit. I started coaching him in 2018. And when I coached him, this guy gave it his all. And that same year, he topped the class. So, to hear a testimonial like that from a teacher is so heartwarming that you can add value to a person, you can make a difference to their lives. So to answer it, our youth have so much of potential. They're yearning, they're crying out for help. And this is where we need to come in and help them.
That's really a very noble initiative from your end. And it is very much evident from the kind of posts you give on LinkedIn, wherein I have always read your posts, and you were trying to tell people about COVID-19 part of your life. And I would like to request you to tell us how did you get that COVID-19 pneumonia? Basically, how did you catch that?
Wow,
What happened actually?
So this month in January, it's going to be around the 19th of January that I would be 1 year since my COVID experience. So it's my 1 year anniversary. I always like to put some laughter to it because I see life as a journey. All of everything that happens to us happens for a reason. It just makes us stronger, and we got to learn and grow from it. So how did I get COVID? Till now, I still can't really explain it completely, but I do know I was going to gym, but when I was going to gym, I was masking up, I was sanitizing, I was taking the utmost care of myself. But the one thing that sticks out for me was we do a daily 5-kilometer walk in our area. And one morning I said to my wife, I said, you know what, I'm tasting some chemicals on my lips and I don't know what this is. But ever since I could taste those chemicals, I started getting sick from that day. Now we live very close to the airport. And I had thought that, when the planes are landing, they normally dump the fuel. So I thought it was still something lingering in the air that I could have caught. So I got home and I started to feel a bit feverish, but I still didn't do anything about it. I didn't think anything about it because I've been anti-COVID. So to me, I didn't believe that COVID was something real from day one. So 8 days later, at home, I was lying in my backyard and my son saw me outside in this like crimped up position like this. I was like almost my whole body was like together like this. And I was like wet from perspiration. I had this high fever. I was not eating, nothing at all. And then they realized that there's something wrong with me and we need to go and check it up. So immediately they took me for a COVID test and it came back positive. Now, I didn't expect that to happen to me. So at this point, I still wasn't ready to go to the hospital because I was scared of going to the government hospital because I know the facilities are not up to standard. And that scared me a lot. The reason why I would have been forced to go to the government hospital is because my medical aid was not paid up at the time. I was having some financial issues and I was scared to go to the government hospital. But what we did is my daughter managed to sort out my private medical aid and they got in touch with the hospital. The hospital said, my sister worked at the hospital. So they said, bring him to casualty immediately. So I got to the hospital and they checked my oxygen levels. I was sitting at 58% oxygen levels.
Oh my God.
So the
That
doctor,
so
it was very
terribly
low.
low. Yeah.
Yeah. So the doctors started having a conversation and my wife, my son, and my sister picked up on this and they asked the doctor, what's going on? And the doctor just, I get goosebumps still relating the story. The doctor said to them that your husband is in a terrible state. He's in a bad state. We need to admit him into the intensive care unit immediately. And that's what happened. But while I was lying there in casualty, I could still converse, although I had so much of breathing problems. And I made a decision at that point, and I said to my son and my wife and my sister, I said, don't worry, I'm going to fight this. I will walk out of this hospital. Because when you have COVID in all the countries, in fact, once your family leaves you at casualty to go into hospital, you stay there like, I think it's about 14 days. You don't know whether you're going to see your family member alive or you're going to see a body. That's how drastic
this is how even in
bad
India things were happening in the same manner. Once the person is in ICU, it was so much of uncertainty around that whether the person will come back or not. And in most of the cases, we were only coming to know about the casualty. So in your case, you probably you were aware of this fact that you need to be completely in your consciousness, in your self-awareness. Yeah.
Yeah. I did not even know that they were going to put me into the intensive care unit and they needed to get me onto this high flow oxygen immediately because I was really out of it. By that time I was like, I'd started to lose weight. So it had been eating through my system really badly when I got there. So I'm grateful that, the doctors acted at a good speed. Even my family, when they saw me out, I think if they did not take me to the hospital in time, I wouldn't be here speaking to you today.
Absolutely. Thankful to God and thankful to the right kind of decision that your family took. Yeah. We are really thankful that you are here in front of us.
So thank you.
Great.
Thank you so
That's
much.
great. That's great.
So
And yeah, please.
Yeah,
continue.
sorry.
Yeah, your experience about the ICU and the patients around you.
ICU is no fun. I can tell you this, and even to your audience, it's not really nice at all. I speak about my ICU experience in my book, but just to give you a bit of what I went through, you face trauma on a daily basis. So where I was, people were dying on a day-to-day basis. I was very close to the door. So the moment they were allowing families at the point to come in only to say goodbye to their loved ones. So the doctors by that time had known that the patient was not going to make it. So when I look at the door and I see the family members coming, they change into the COVID gear and they go to their family members, you just know that it's the last time they will see that family member. So it was very traumatic for me watching all of this. There were operations in progress. There was a doctor that was also opposite me. Now, to me, a doctor is there to save lives. He's there to take care of us. But this doctor was in a bad state and he was pulling out all the cords. He was on the ventilator. He was pulling out the cords, falling on the floor, hallucinating and crying out to die. He was saying to the nurses that I want to die. I want to go. I can't take this anymore. So this point affected me. And this was around day 6 of my ICU. I spent 13 days in the ICU. This was on day 6. And I got in touch with my family and I said to them, I can't do this anymore. So I was almost giving up on my life as well because it was just too traumatic for me. And my daughter did something very special, Anushri. You see, I carry something in my pocket all the time. It's a gold card. So at that time, it was at home. So she sent this. This is what it is. It's all my goals and my purpose, etc. That's written down on this card, right? So she took a picture of this, and she sent it to me, and she says, "Dad, don't forget what your purpose is. You got so much more to do in this world." So immediately, I had to realize that I can't play the victim mindset all the time. I can't stay in the self-pity mindset. I need to snap out of this immediately and start working on myself and getting better. Because if I had stayed in that mindset, I would have never come out from hospital. So I had to start doing things. And these are some of the mind hacks and techniques. I will share it with you shortly.
Yeah, I was about to ask you what all techniques you tried, because under such critical condition, critical state of mind, people usually forget things and they give up. They think that it's very difficult to cope up with such situation and nobody will understand. I can't think of anything else than my own health. It's deteriorating day by day. I am feeling helpless. But how did you manage? What all techniques you thought of, at that point of time? Because applying is one thing, and able to recall those and doing it properly, those are other aspects, other important aspects of anybody's life.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why I dedicated like a whole chapter in this book to mind hacks and techniques that I used on myself that got me through it.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's
what
on
is
chapter
the name
7.
of your book? COVID?
It's called My COVID Journey.
Okay. My COVID Journey.
My COVID Journey.
Fantastic. I'm going to order this because at that specific time when you are down with such a critical health conditions, you are able to recall such things. You are able to recall that you have to, get out of this situation. This is something everyone should, feel and understand. They should actually understand this fact.
Absolutely. And and that's why this is how writing the book came about. So when I wrote the book, I was thinking about how many people can benefit from it. So there's 2 types of audiences for the book. The first one is if people have lost loved ones and they want to understand what their loved one went through, because ICU is no fun, like I said. When they read the book, it allows them to reach some peace and closure and allows them to move forward. And the second intention is people that are experiencing COVID now, the book helps them with these mind hacks and techniques to get through this phase. So I see the book as a companion for them, whether they're in hospital or at home. The book is still a companion. And I'm going to share with you some of the mind hacks and techniques that I used on myself. So I've been practicing these mind hacks and techniques for years, but this had given me an opportunity to practice it and now come back and testify about it. So, the first thing that I was getting prayer verses from our Hindu community, the Muslims, the Christians, the Jewish, you name it. I was getting all of this on my phone. But me being a person that's high on human values, I listened to every single one. I focused my attention on it and I appreciated the prayer that they sent me. Why? Because I still believe there's one God. It's just different ways of believing, right? And this is for the listeners to pay particular attention to. There's one God. We just pray in different ways, and we need to respect each other for what they bring. So I was so grateful that I could get these mantras and these prayers, etc. The second thing I did was gratitude. When I started every single day, I was waking up. The first thing I did was practicing my gratitude. And the gratitude I was saying was, I'm grateful for the nurses, for the doctor, for the medication, the oxygen they're giving me. I was grateful for all of that. The moment I started practicing this gratitude, guess what it started doing? It started changing my mindset into one of happiness, one of looking forward. Yeah, one of looking forward to the next day. Now, imagine if somebody is going through this now, going through COVID, all they need to do is change their mindset to one of happiness, joy, etc., and it starts changing. I was doing meditation. The meditation I was doing is something I learned at Mind Valley. It's called the three scenes healing technique. And I'll just give you briefly what the three scenes are. So in
did
the
you
first scene,
personally visit Mind Valley? This
yeah,
Vishen Lakhani's Mind Valley, right?
I haven't visited them, but
Okay.
I've done interviews with Mind Valley on my journey with Vishen directly. And I'm a student at Mind Valley. I'm an ambassador to Mind Valley.
That's wonderful.
It's
That's great.
beautiful. So, this technique goes like this. In the first scene, you imagine the worst of your situation. So imagine yourself not recovering from whatever you're going through. Now, there's the key to do this is because you want to put yourself in that bad state. And then the second scene, you start taking action towards helping you out of that state. Now, the help I was doing is I asked the nurse and the physio, I said, what can I do to help the situation? They were giving me a lot of breathing techniques that I needed to do. One of the things that they gave me to do was sit up in my chair, which I'm going to talk about in a short bit. But the second scene is basically taking action towards helping yourself. Remember, when you have COVID, you're climbing your own mountain. You're all alone there. The nurses, the doctors can do that much, but you got to take the initiative as well. And in the last scene, you envision yourself happy and playing with your family outside in the yard, just enjoying life. So the moment I started training my mind to look at more the happy state of me, and the moment I started creating this mental image, wow, things started changing. One of the other things I noticed as well as during the meditation is, in the beginning, I felt like something eating through my flesh. And when I felt something eat through my flesh, I realized that I needed to do different meditations. So the one meditation I did was while my eyes was closed, I envisioned soldiers going through my mouth, going down into my body and fighting off whatever was eating through my body. When I started doing that, I started getting to feel better and get stronger. So that was the third one I did, the meditation, positive self-talk. Wow.
With your meditation part, I would like to just coincide with my philosophy. If you notice, I have mentioned this first thing I have mentioned is, there is, I just forgot. First thing I have mentioned is, out of when we consider something, whenever we see something, we perceive it, we just do some processing inside our mind, and then we create our reality based on that perception, based on that understanding, the belief system, and that becomes the three M's which I have mentioned. The first M is something I have just forgot. The second M is mind, and the third is matter. And it gives a feel that we receive input, we process it inside our mind. The ones you just mentioned, that you were taking three scenes. One scene was your current situation, and second scene was your something that you improvised and you created for yourself. And third thing was you were feeling the happiness out of a good output you were visualizing. So these three things we should always be very careful about. I think these are the important aspects of our mind is very powerful, and we should be careful about what we intake into the mind, how we perceive it.
I love that.
That creates a reality. Yeah.
100%. I love what you just said, because a lot of what we feed our mind will determine our reality. So if you keep feeding yourself with negativity, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a negative outcome. So, if you know of people that are keep complaining that I am feeling so sick, I am depressed, I'm down, etc., guess what? Those people are never going to be happy, because they are feeding themselves with this negative thing. It's going into their subconscious mind and it's staying there. So that's why it's so important to create this mental image of.
They are basically the thoughts that we receive. into our mind, then the mind do all those processing with those thoughts, and only the helpful thoughts create the helpful reality. Otherwise we lose it.
Correct, 100%. And then I wanted to speak about the positive self-talk. Positive self-talk is so important because you're there all alone. You have the nurses and doctors, but 99% of the time you're alone because they would come and check up on you. But you got to give yourself, like you said, feed your thoughts with only positive talk. So I was telling myself every single day, you got this, Nolan. You're going to be better. You're going to walk out of this hospital. You're going to get back to normal. I mean, it's a year later and I'm living to tell the tale. I even went up to the point where I said, I'm going to share this with the world. And look at what we are doing today. We are sharing with the world. The other important thing is the breathing exercises. So, we've watched a lot of videos where people had instances where they couldn't breathe. So if somebody tells you, I can't breathe, please believe that person. So me being a person that's very adventurous, very sporty, climbing mountains, etc., when I got admitted, my breathing was at its worst. I couldn't breathe. I could barely take 10 steps, 10 baby steps. That's how much it had taken me down. But by starting to teach myself how to breathe again, teach myself how to walk again, that's what got me through this. I had to relearn all of these basic things. So breathing exercise is quite important. So make sure you Google or research some breathing exercise or get it from my book. I speak about 3 different breathing techniques in there as well. The other thing I'd like the listeners, your audience, to do is listen to motivational videos. Mm-hmm. There's so many motivational videos out there. If you're struggling to find one, go onto my YouTube channel. It's called Straight Talk with Nolan. Have a look at the motivational videos there. Just feed yourself, like Anushri has said, with positivity all the time. This mindset is the most important thing you can ever have. And guess who's in control of that? It's you and no one else.
Yes.
We're in control.
Because we want that reality to happen, which we desire. Our desired reality has to, come in front of our eyes. If we don't feed our mind with the right kind of thoughts, we are going to lose that opportunity to create that, co-create that reality.
Exactly. And that applies to anything. It could be applied to your goals that you're working to, any obstacles that you're facing. So you got to create this mental image of where you want to go in your life, where you see yourself. When you think about a vision board, it's not a small exercise. It's really a magical exercise. But you need to start applying your emotions, your feelings, and your thoughts into it. You need to be so into it that it will become a reality at the end of the day. So, when we talk about visualization, when I was in ICU, I visualized myself being out of ICU on a certain day. And guess what? I was out of ICU on that exact day, which was 11 days or 13 days after me being in ICU. I visualized myself. And then I was transferred to the ward. I visualized myself walking out from the ward 2 days later and being home. But that didn't happen because of circumstances that I could not control. One of the conditions of my discharge was for me to come home and have oxygen at home for a month. So the company supplying the oxygen could not get it yet in time, and I had to spend another day in the hospital. But I walked out of the hospital. From the ward to the exit of the hospital, the door, they had to put me in a wheelchair because of COVID protocol. But once I got to the door, I was able to stand up and walk to the car that my family was waiting in and come back home. So the power of visualization is really magical if you start applying it. You got to use it. And like I said, use it for anything, work, personal life, whatever goals you're working on, and it will work. You got to believe in yourself, program yourself into all of those positive things that you want for your life. Stop programming yourself with negative stuff. Stop focusing too much on media, especially negative media. There's a lot of negative media. And I'll give you an example. If you go onto any social media, how many people will share something positive versus how many people share something negative? It's a big difference.
That's a very good observation. Yeah.
So that was basically, the techniques that I used that I can share with you while I was in ICU. I just want to talk about the they call it the famous chair. So what had happened on day 2 of me being in ICU, in day 2, I was able to converse because of the oxygen they had been given me. So I asked the physio a question. I said, how can I help myself get out of this hospital as soon as possible? She says, try and sit in a chair like this as much as possible.
In a straight
Because when you
position.
sit
Yeah.
in a straight position, when you sit up, you allow your lungs to open up and you can breathe better, right? So I said, okay, fine. If this is going to help me, I'm going to do this all the time. And she says, so Mr. Pillay, what do you mean all the time? I said, no, I'm not going to go back into that bed and sleep on the bed. I'm going to sleep in this chair, in this upright position every single day. And I did that for the balance of my stay in ICU. Only on day 1, because I was in a bad state, I lied on the bed. But from day 2 onwards, I sat in a chair, I slept in the chair, I had a blanket, everything. I ate while sitting there, etc. I used to walk up when the physio came because she was training me how to walk, but that was the only time I got out of the chair. And believe me, this chair became the famous chair in the hospital because the other patients had heard about it and they all started using this famous chair as well. They all got their chairs next to their bedside. So it was fantastic to
Big
know that
applause for
I
you
tried something.
for trying such
Thank you.
unusual things. And people must be remembering you, that you had that kind of conviction, that kind of inner strength that you applied on your thought process. Very good.
Thank you. And credit goes to the physio because I didn't know anything about it. And the fact that she told me about it, it really changed my mindset completely. Another thing in ICU that I experience is you lose your independence. So me being a very independent person, I could not bathe myself. For 4 days, I could not brush my teeth. I had to have the assistance of the nurses. And I'm talking female nurses. This is where they bathe you. They even go as to the point where you cannot go to the toilet alone. So this is how much of independence. The reason why I'm sharing this with the audience is for them to realize that ICU is no joke. COVID is no joke. What it does to your body is unbelievable. I lost about 11 kgs in this time.
Nolan, I think we are going to, our time is going to be over soon. So if you can, come to the point where you would like to give a message to our viewers. And in the next part, we'd like to hear about what happened when you once reached back home and how you, what all you did, what care you took around that time. To get back to your healthy being, and also about the situation that you faced recently again when you got COVID. I just noticed that you have mentioned somewhere that you got COVID again in the month of December, right? This year.
Last year, but it wasn't COVID. We'll speak more about that in the next.
Yeah, in the
episode.
next part, we'd like to speak in detail, and if you can, give a good message that the viewers can have, and they can always remember from Nolan. Nolan has, shared this message with them in the part 1, which they can always utilize and.
Okay. Cool. So I think my first message is, you know what, if you do get COVID, touch wood that you don't. If you do go into a hospital, just remember you're not alone. The one thing you must not do is don't allow fear to start taking over you, because when you start becoming fearful, then you're not making your journey any much easier. Although it is a difficult time, rather focus on inspiring yourself, do a lot of positive self-talk, do a lot of meditation, focus on yourself. Tell yourself that you are important and you want to get out of it. The second part is, if you know of family members that are in hospital, try as much as possible not to allow them to go onto the ventilator. And the reason why I say this is because once you go onto the ventilator, you get pumped with medication and you're not in the right state of mind. And if you're not in the right state of mind, how are you going to help yourself get out of it? So that's my reasoning behind it. But most of all is just focus on getting better, and just think about it in this way. If somebody that can go in with 58% oxygen levels close to death can come out from it and tell the story, so can you. Just focus on that. If it means you trying to get my book, go and look for my book, My COVID Journey. Have it as a companion during this time. And believe me, it really is going to help you. I even did a video, an inspiring video while I was there to inspire the world.
Yeah, I
Basically
have
saying,
shared that video over the post, and I'm very sure that people will have a look at that video of yours, wherein you have mentioned that how difficult it is to be in the hospital during the COVID times. But we have to take care of our mindset. We have to be positive. We have to, just now you mentioned so many techniques, meditation, gratitude, and all those things that we need to take care of. That needs to be there in our mind. In every situation. Yeah.
Indeed. And just remember that you can come out from any situation. So remember, in life, we're going to have obstacles. Life is not a straight line. If life was a straight line and perfect, the world will be very boring. So life is meant to throw us obstacles. And every obstacle that we can overcome, it makes us stronger, both personally, and it allows us to grow and learn. So use your COVID experience as a learning experience. Don't use it as some disastrous event in your life. I've changed my thought, and I'm not owning my COVID, because I see it as a journey through life. The moment you start owning
part of your journey. Yeah.
Part of your journey. The moment you start owning something, you're giving it the identity that it is yours. But COVID is not yours. It's part of your journey. So that's a very big difference I want the audience to grasp.
That's a very
don't
big message. Yeah, you have given such a big message to everyone. It's just a part of the journey. Treat it that way and do not own it. Do not get into that trap that I have got COVID. COVID has come into my life as a part of the journey, and it will go with its time if I stay strong enough and mentally positive enough.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me on your show, Anushree. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. It's such a big, I'm so privileged, and it's such a big thing for me to have you in the very first show, very first episode. And the part one has, I have really liked the things you have mentioned, the points you have shared.